Oh, hello there, racing fans. Welcome back to the channel, proudly sponsored by betting.co.uk. So, we're back again with another special episode for you because, as you can see, I am joined by none other than Jonjo O'Neill Jr. Jonjo, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good, good, good. Thanks for giving me some of your time. I know it's a really busy time of the season for you. But on that note, what's the mood like at this time of year, Jonjo? You must be starting to get really excited with Cheltenham only sort of 10 weeks away from now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've had the bit of the hangover from Christmas and New Year period, a lot of racing, um, and obviously, well, at this stage, there's a lot of rain and stuff, so plenty of meetings called off. But yeah, it's soon, Cheltenham's soon around the corner now.
It's not long. It starts to fly around, doesn't it, as soon as the Christmas racing's done as well. So, Jonjo, just a quick question before we go on to some of the horses in the stable at the moment. What's a daily routine like for you, Jonjo, when you're not at a race course? So when you wake up in the morning, are you riding the same horses out every day, or as the stable jockey, are you given select horses to work on each day? How does it work at home in that sense?
Yeah, I'd rarely ride the same horse every day, because we have plenty of horses in the yard, obviously, and plenty of different horses each week. So, probably sit on the horses that are due to run the next couple of weeks, and either they'll be working or schooling, and just try and get in a bit of an opinion. I'd have ridden them all in the autumn when there was less racing, but now in the winter time, there's less time to ride out, so we just try and mix and match as much as we can to close to the race day. Yeah, sometimes I'd be in Dad's, and then sometimes I'd be in other places as well. So it's a busy time of year.
Yeah, it must be brilliant as well because you've got so many good horses coming through as well, especially in the novice ranks as well. What we'll do then, John, we'll go on to a few of the runners that we've got for you coming out of Jackdaws this season. We'll start off with Monbeg Genius. Of course, he's a lovely 8-year-old by Shantu. He reminds me of a proper old school steeplechaser as well. He must be a thrill to ride when he's on a real going day. He won 3 on the spin before finishing third in the Ultima behind Corrit Rambler and Fast or Slow. He seemed to come back to form a little bit last time out at Newbury. How has he come out of that race, and how is he at home at this time of the season?
Yeah, he was very progressive last year. We are originally disappointed he got beat at Cheltenham, but obviously the form with Corrit Rambler and
Yeah.
Fast and Slow, it looked pretty good form. He had a pipe opener at Ascot and nearly fell 4 or 5 out, so kind of just put his chance away. But we it was a legitimate excuse why he pulled up. So we were happy going into Newbury. Just a bit disappointed we didn't get enough rain. Ground was on the quick side, and he's a horse that wants really soft ground normally, but it was safe ground. And it was worth a lot of money, so he took his chance, and he ran very well being third. I just think if the ground was softer, it would have played into his hands a bit more. Um, didn't quite make the Welsh national with a slight setback, but he might go to the Classic Chase next week at Warwick, which is another race that should suit him nicely. Soft ground, good trip, and yeah, if he's right on time, he'll probably go there. But no, he's a horse we've always been looking forward to. Very very straightforward horse, and the national has been his plan all year really.
Sure. So you mentioned obviously going to Warwick possibly next week. Will that be? I mean, I assume is the plan still to go to Cheltenham with him, even though the main aim is the Grand National in April, or with some of the other chasers that you've got at the moment in the stable? Is this potentially something that you're all thinking we could just target the Grand National directly?
Yeah, I suppose it would tell us a lot after Warwick if he goes there. There are other races. I think there's a race at Haydock the week after the Peter Marsh. Maybe I think it is.
Yeah.
And so there are plenty of races there for him. But he is a horse that does typically like his races spread out, and we like to try and get one more run into him before the weights come out. And then I think there is a month between Cheltenham and Aintree again this year, so
Yeah.
there is that possibility. But we'll just have to see how he comes out his next race first.
Excellent, excellent. Looking forward to seeing how he progresses again this season. Currently off a mark of 147. And like you said, probably a little bit more room for manoeuvre on a bit of a better surface as well. So there's some other nice chasers at the moment. Jonjo, you've got Inch House, of course. He was really unfortunate the other day to get beat at Cheltenham. But again, to be fair, very heavy ground. He's got now a mark of 137. Is he another that might just appreciate a bit more better ground on a faster surface?
Yeah, definitely. The ground was very testing at Cheltenham, as testing as it's been in a couple of years now, to be honest. It was very gluey ground, not massively deep, but very gluey. And he didn't get into a true rhythm with his jumping, which is something that he has done at Newbury his last twice. Probably put cost to the race, to be honest. But I thought he still ran very well. Sometime he was just nudged off in a Kimura last year and hit the blinkers on. He was, he was fancied for the Ladbroke Gold Cup back his last run.
Yeah.
So he probably bumped into a decent horse still, and he is on the up still, and he could be in a similar mold to Monbeg Genius for next year, I would imagine. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but we'll just probably try and get his confidence back up next run. I think there is a race at Newbury on Bet for Hurdle Day. That might suit, and not really sure where we'll go yet in the spring, but he's a horse on the up that hopefully could be quite exciting for next year again.
I mean, could he possibly step in to become the next Ultima horse like Monbeg did last season, or is he a little bit short of that at the moment? What do you think in that sense, Jonjo?
Yeah, I suppose it would tell a lot on his next run, whether he got his confidence back. He just missed a couple on the way round the other day, and so I thought he still ran very well considering, but he was a lot better at Newbury. So we might go back to a flatter track and just try and get that jumping together again because he is a good jumper. And then, depending on how that goes, we'll see what we do in the spring. But he's a horse that does stay very well, and he might be a type for the Ladbroke Trophy next year, maybe.
Okay, okay. Another horse of a similar profile, apart from the fact he's a walk in the park gelding in the Maiko Geohagen colours, you've got Are You Wise to That? Now he's off a mark just slightly shorter of 130. He, of course, won at Cheltenham in December in really good fashion. How would a horse like him compare to Inch House? Again, similar profiles, same owner. I think a lot of people maybe again talking about him as a potential Ultima horse, or again, is he not quite at that level? Yeah, he's got a few pounds to find, of course, on Inch House, but he seems to be progressive again, Jonjo.
Yeah, he probably not as natural a jumper as Inch House.
Okay,
He he has to go left-handed as well, which we found at Ascot. Um,
okay,
but obviously that is fine with the likes of
yeah,
Aintree and Cheltenham. I think probably at the minute his experience is probably lacking a bit for an Ultima. But he has got the 3 runs, so he has got the chance to go in them races.
okay.
Obviously, he needs to win again. He did get a slight setback um, after Cheltenham, so I'm not sure how long it will be until his next run. But for me, I would say probably lacking in experience a little bit still at the minute for them better handicaps in open company. Um, but there's definitely nice races in him. He's a horse with plenty of ability. He needs everything right on the day.
Perfect. I've got the both in my tracker, so I'll definitely be following their progress throughout this season, and of course next as well. Well, we'll move on to a potentially very smart horse here then, Jonjo. Of course, you've got Johnnywho, unbeaten in his first 2 starts at Taunton and Carlisle, and he was then fourth in the Challow just last week. How did you feel about that performance? He seemed to be doing a lot of his best work late on in the day.
Yeah, he was. The ground was very testing. And although he'd won in soft ground at Taunton, where it was heavy ground, and as well at Carlisle, very different winning a novice and a bumper compared to a Grade One. Especially on his second start, all the other horses in front of him had 2 runs in soft ground this year. He'd only had the one, so he was probably lacking a little bit of experience, and uh, he just probably caught him out a little bit turning in. But I was very happy with the way he ran on. I do think maybe it was a little bit deceiving. I think the horses were stopping in front, um, and he just kept going the same pace. But yeah, on his second run over hurdles, we were delighted with that, and hopefully that there might be a race at Cheltenham or maybe Doncaster or something like that at the end of the month.
Would you see him at this point as more of a Ballymore type or a Bartlett type at the moment? Do you feel like he would appreciate this step up in trip, or do you think it was simply an experience that got him to the line a little bit later when he was doing his best work?
No, I think probably Albert Bartlett would suit him nicely, and he's bred to stay well. but he's a classy horse that doesn't lack speed. The ground was just very tough that day, and I think that probably caught him out more than anything. But he got a mark of 136, so for a novice, fairly high. So I'd imagine he'd be going for another novice, and until we decide after that again.
Excellent, perfect. And sticking on the theme of JP McManus, there's a horse you've got in the yard called Fortunate Man. He was a 200 grand purchase. He unseated on debut at Foss last, but he was brilliant next time out at Newbury. You seem to go under the radar a little bit that day. Please tell me this is a good horse, Jonjo. I really like Fortunate Man.
We weren't sure beforehand. He doesn't show an awful lot at home, but yeah, it wasn't his fault he unseated the first day. He jinked in between hurdles and just knocked me out the side door. But yeah, he was out the next week, and he did win nicely. Looked like he stayed very well, handled the ground. It was soft ground, handled it nicely, and jumped well on the whole. He probably needs a bit more experience. And yeah, I'm not sure it was the deepest novice hurdle ever run at Newbury, which probably flattered him as well. But there was no taking away from the performance. He did it nicely. I'm just not sure how deep the race, to be honest, was.
Excellent. Okay. And we've got Genie, of course. I'm sure you hear this all the time. He's a half brother to Constitution Hill. He was a little bit disappointing over hurdles, but he did well in his bumper at Taunton last season. Would you expect a little bit more to come from him? What does he show you at home, this sort of horse? Of course, he's got some form of reputation on the progeny side, so there's a lot of eyes on him at the same time. What sort of feel does he give you, Jonjo?
Yeah, he's unfortunate. Obviously, he's Constitution Hill's brother, but we actually bought him as a store horse before
Oh, well,
Constitution Hill ever
okay.
ever ran for Nicky Henderson. So
Didn't know at the time then, really.
no one knew what his brother was going to do at the time. But he won his bumper at Huntington later on, getting the hang of it. But I think obviously it's clear to see Constitution Hill is just a freak, and not all his progeny are going to be the same as him. And he is bred really, he's by Fleming's Firth. He wants a trip. Does jump very well. He's a horse who'll be probably going over fences next year, and likes a bit of soft ground. So we'd imagine he'll hopefully be getting out end of January again and into handicaps, and hopefully then improve over fences next year. But yeah, just unfortunate for him. His brother's very good.
Yeah. You're going to have a lot of eyes on you, I think, wherever you go anyway, just riding Genie, though, purely down to that as well. But again, another nice, exciting horse to go forward with, Jonjo. Now, you've got some very, very nice bumper horses in the yard at the moment. You've got a 6-year-old called Mr. Meggit, who, well, hacked up, didn't he, on debut? I think it was 12 lengths he won by Carlisle. Very, very promising sort, this one. Again, visually, he ticks all of the boxes. Did he give you a good feel at home, Jonjo?
That's very similar mold to Fortunate Man, to be honest. Didn't expect anything at all at Carlisle. And sometimes they can just do that, show very little at home. He worked okay at home, but never showed anything like he did on the track. Again, not sure on how good the race was, but to be fair, he was visually impressive, and he felt impressive. So we were very pleasantly surprised. He's got 2 more runs he can have before he goes into a nice one. Not sure what route we're going to take yet, but there is another race at Carlisle at the beginning of February, which is a qualifier for the Kelso series.
Perfect.
In the beginning of April. So we might do that and tick that off, and see where we go from there. But hopefully he's got to back that run up with another similar run, you'd think. But obviously it's hard for horses to win with a penalty in bumpers. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, he's a light framed horse that obviously never ran last year. We actually never had in training last year, so he's taken a little while to come to himself, but he seems to have an engine anyway.
How do you decide to ride bumpers tactically, Jonjo, before you get to the racetrack? Because again, from what you're telling me, it's like you didn't necessarily have a full plan on how he was going to move through the race, but he definitely moved like a smart horse. How do you decide what tactics to employ when you've got a newcomer going to the track for the first time, or do you get given instruction by Jonjo Senior, of course?
Yeah, it does help. Being in the yard quite a lot, a lot of the horses pretty well, and you've ridden them in plenty of work, and the other jockeys as well, Richie McLean and Kevin Brogan, and the conditionals and stuff, they'd be coming in, so you can get feedback off all of them all the time. You can make an opinion of it yourself, and then Dad will do the same, and we'll just go from there. Have a look at the race, if there's any pace in the race. If a horse is very keen at home, you might want to settle him a little bit more to start with. But he was very straightforward at home, never keen or anything like that. So we just decided to keep out on a little bit nicer ground and be fairly handy, get a lead into the race and see what he could do from turning in. But we certainly weren't expecting what he did.
Wow, interesting. 'Cause it looked so good. Looked like you were so calm in the saddle as well as you were sort of pulling away. It was really, really impressive visually. So hopefully, like you said, he can go on to do much better things. Now, I did say Fortunate Man was one of my favorites. Here is another Jonjo that I really like. Mount Fuji Park, another walk in the park gelding that you've got. Again, pretty impressive to win on debut, considering he was coming up against a few more experienced horses on the day. Again, this is like Fortunate Man. Please tell me you got a good one on your hands here as well, Jonjo, because I think he looks lovely. Looks lovely.
Yeah, I really liked him at Fosslas. Lovely, big, fine horse. And to be honest, he wants a fence already. He's crying out for a fence. And we've always liked him. Proper 3 mile chaser. And yeah, we were happy with what he did at Fosslas. The form of the second has probably taken a little dent. I know Breaking Silence beat him at Sandown, who subsequently won it. He beat him at Exeter. He subsequently won a Grade 2 at Sandown, so that wasn't too bad. But he did get beaten at handicap the last day at Ascot, which I thought he probably should have won on his form. So it's taken a little bit of a dent, but we did quicken right away after the second last in that race at Fosslas, and we just gave him a little break over the Christmas period. And a couple of races for him. There's a race at Ascot in a couple of weeks, and there's a race, a 3 mile novice hurdle at Lingfield that Winter Millions weekend. So one of them could certainly be options for him.
Is he quite a big horse as well, being a walk in the park, Mount
Yeah, he's
Fuji? Mount
big,
Fuji.
big fine horse. Yeah.
So is he potentially going to go chasing straight away rather than even attempting to go down the hurdles route at all? Or is it again, it's just the thing, you just take it step by step, see how he progresses?
He'll do hurdles this season, but yeah, no doubt he'll be going over fences next year.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, I noticed just two more to go, Jonjo, that you had one entered last week or the week before. A nice point-to-point medical, Bill Joyce. Cost a pretty penny for Dan Walker. I just wonder what your thoughts are with him. How does he sort of compare to the likes of Mr. Meggit, Mount Fuji Park, the bumper horses that are there sort of at the moment?
Yeah, it goes away nicely. Big frame of a horse last year. He's a mile, a 4-year-old running in the spring. Obviously they need a bit of time. They've thankfully the owners, the Walker family, they've given him the time. Obviously he was in at Warwick last week and it was off, unfortunately. I think he might be put in Wincanton, and there's a couple of races Warwick maybe next Friday and Saturday. And yeah, he'll run the bumper or two this year. We'll put him away for hurdling next year, but goes away nicely. Big strong galloper, and he bought him to be a 3 mile chaser, and that's what he'll be. But we'll start him off in a couple of bumpers on a nice track to start with.
Perfect. So one just to keep in mind for the future then, I guess, just with a more progression. What sort of feel does he give you against your better bumper horses at the moment? Can you tell whilst you're sat on him, Jonjo, that he just feels like an out and out 3 miler, and that you're just going to probably have to be a bit patient with him as he goes up in the ranks? Of course, he's already won a point to point so far. So is patience key for these sort of long-term chasers?
Yeah, that's it. And and they're still growing as well. At this stage, you don't want to be too hard on them because they can go the other way and go very weak very quickly and stuff. So he's a big, strong horse, but he's going to be a lot stronger in the autumn. So we just have to play it slowly with them. And yeah, I mean, but we didn't expect anything from say Mr. Meggit, and he won with loads of speed.
Of course.
So you just don't know until you get onto the track. They can deceive you. That Sky Pirate we had a couple of years ago.
Yep, of
He,
course.
he was one of the slowest workhorses we've had. and he ended up being a 2 mile chaser win the Grand Annual.
He loved it as well, didn't he? Loved his racing. Really, really loved Sky Pirate.
So you just don't know. They can deceive you at home. So you just have to wait and let them tell you on the track, really. But you have a good idea, but some do deceive you.
Well, I'll keep him in the tracker for the time being, then, and we'll see how he gets on debut. One more then, Jonjo. Again, this is one's a little bit left field. I've mentioned this one to you already. I really like Ted's Gift simply because he's owned by Robert Leinster. And I was Leicester, I beg your pardon. And I was a big fan of Iris's Gift as well back in the day. That was the era that really got me into racing as well. Any idea of where Ted's Gift will be going? Of course, he was beaten in both of his bumpers, but he did actually win on Hurdle's debut. As a bit of a horse to track, where do you think we'll see him up next, Jonjo?
He's actually in at Ludlow again on Friday.
Perfect.
The round is soft heavy. Not sure if that will really suit him, but
Okay.
just needs some hurdle experience. And the ground was soft there when he won his bumper, so he should handle it. And Ludlow never gets that deep really, so he'll go there. And yeah, no, it's nice for Bob Lester to have another horse in the yard. And Iris's Gift's nickname was called Ted, so this is why
Oh,
this one
wow.
is called Ted's Gift. So yeah.
I did wonder because I had a look down the breed and I tried to even find some sort of relation to Iris's Gift and I couldn't. So I did wonder where the name came from. Is this the first horse that he's had in the yard for quite some time then, or is he involved in any
Yeah,
others as well?
for a while, yeah, for a while. He had plenty since Iris's Gift, but no, for a good few years, yeah. So no, it's nice to get the colours back in and have a winner for him as well.
Brilliant stuff. I'm definitely going to be tracking him this year. Just a really likable type. And again, with those Robert Lester colours, I'm going to be keeping him in mind for the whole season, Jonjo. Well, Jonjo, that's it for the the runners that I actually wanted to ask you about. I just wondered if we could get I've got two questions for you. One, what is your horse to follow for the season? Doesn't have to be a world beater, just one that we can track and have a good bit of fun with. Maybe even a nice handicapper somewhere along this season. Is there anything that stands out to you? Pressure time. This is Jonjo as well.
We've a nice horse. He'll probably stay bumpering this year, but Wellington Arch, he won at Worcester and he was third in a good bumper at Ascot then in November. He'll probably be likely to come out in beginning to middle of February again. And
Perfect.
he might run if he won that, he might run in one of the nice bumpers then after that. But he's a horse we've always liked, and
How old is he at the moment? Is
he's
he
just turned 5.
just turned 5?
Yeah,
Perfect.
he's a full brother to Pembroke of Dan Scousing.
Oh, lovely.
And yeah, we've always liked him, and yeah, hopefully there could be more to come from him.
Excellent. So Wellington Arch, a nice 5-year-old. Awesome, Jonjo. And then my final question, I just always like to ask, who's your favourite horse to ride in the yard? Who do you get on the most with? Again, this is nothing to do with race results. Who do you enjoy riding at home? Who gives you the buzz?
When you're schooling horses like Monbeg Genius over fences, they're different gear really. They just do it with such ease and just kind of tell a class apart really. Obviously he's not in the same breath at all. But when I was riding out in Tizards and
The river.
Native River a little bit, there's just no comparison to them kind of horses. Obviously the two of them are completely different horses, but they're them really good 3 mile chasers. They make the sport a lot of fun.
It must give you some thrill knowing that you've got these horses to go forward with as well, knowing that you might have a serious contender in the Grand National. You might have these big runners at Cheltenham as well. Must be ever so exciting. Well, look, Jonjo, I won't keep you any longer. We both want to obviously get off and watch the darts final now, as well. But thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And of course, I wish you the best for the rest of the season. Good luck with your rides as well this week, Jonjo, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you real soon.
Cheers, Joe. Thank you.
Cheers, Jonjo.